number of persons who are being held in custody under the Prevention of Terrorism law, political prisoners, political Tamil prisoners. Some of them have been convicted, some of them have not been charged, some of them have been charged, and their cases are pending. I've discussed this matter, sir, with the President, His Excellency the President. I have also discussed the matter with the Honourable Prime Minister. And we have always found that their positions have been quite reasonable when we discuss this issue with them. We now have a new Minister of Justice, and we are looking forward to being able to resolve this matter in a reasonable manner with the new Minister of Justice. I'm not blaming the former Minister of Justice. He did not disagree with us, but there was no action being taken by him. And things have continued, and things have continued in the same way, and nothing has happened. So there are two main fundamental issues that one has to consider when dealing with this question. One is that these are persons who have committed certain crimes for political reasons. They are not persons who have committed crimes for personal benefit or against society in that sense of the word. These crimes have been committed for political reasons. That's indisputable. And with regard to crimes committed for political reasons, political decisions have been made that those persons can be pardoned and can be released. That has happened in the past in this country. I've said this before a number of times in Parliament. In the insurrection in 1971, and subsequently during the insurrection in 1987, 88, 89, a large number of persons who committed crimes for political reasons were granted an amnesty, a pardon, and they were released. So I posed this question before, and I want to pose the question again. Why can't the same thing be done now in regard to these persons? If you feel that a person has committed a crime not for a political reason, but for a personal reason or for some other reason, I would not press you. But if you are in agreement that these persons have committed these crimes for political reasons, then they must be viewed in the same way in which such cases were viewed earlier in 1971, 1987, 88, 89. The second matter that I want to emphasize is that all these persons have been taken into custody under the Prevention of Terrorism law. Your government has conceded and accepted that the Prevention of Terrorism law is an obnoxious law and that you will repeal it. You have made such commitments to the United Nations Human Rights Council, not once, several times, and you are in fact engaged in a process of drafting a new law and repealing the Prevention of Terrorism law. That's because the manner of arrest, the manner of investigations, extracting confessions, basing prosecutions entirely on extracted confessions, the manner of prosecution, the nature of the evidence, and the manner of judicial finding under the Prevention of Terrorism law is very different from the rules of justice that prevail when proceedings are conducted under the normal laws of the country. And when you yourself admit that the law is obnoxious and the law must be repealed, and you are taking steps to repeal the law, my question is, how do you justify keeping persons in custody under that law? At whatever stage their case may be. So that's an additional factor which I submit is a strong reason for these matters to be considered separately. His Excellency the President pardoned the person who tried to assassinate him. Why? Because the President was convinced that that man tried to assassinate him for a political reason, not for a personal reason. If a person who tried to assassinate the President can be granted a pardon, why can't other prisoners be granted pardon for crimes which are much lesser in seriousness than that particular crime? These are matters that need to be addressed. These are matters which you need to think about. Very unfortunately, the former Minister of Justice had not paid his attention, in my view, adequately to this matter. I would earnestly request you, Minister. Minister, I am addressing you. After you come back from Korea, I know you're going to Korea with His Excellency the President. After you come back from Korea, and at the convenience of the Prime Minister, kindly summon a meeting of the Attorney General, the persons from the Ministry of Law and Order, other persons who should be summoned, and we will discuss this matter. And we'll try to work out some arrangement, because there are a number of demonstrations and fasts that are taking place, both in the north and the east, on behalf of these prisoners. I've got with me a letter here, sent to me by the students of the University of Jaffna, asking me to come to Jaffna, to meet with them, to explain to me their position. I'm unable to go to Jaffna because I've got other commitments in Colombo which are more important. But I understand the feelings of these students. They are wondering why these persons are being held in custody when other persons who were charged with political crimes earlier on have been released. So I think, sir, these matters should come to an end. I was here listening to my honorable colleague from Manap when he talked about the cases that have been transferred to Anuradhapura from Babunia. The 3 cases. I took this matter up in Parliament by way of a German motion some time ago, and you were not in the country at that point of time. There was a commitment that when you returned, there would be a meeting, and that matter would be sorted out. But that matter has not yet been sorted out. I know that there are persons in this country who are trying to promote communal tensions by raising issues on all these matters to prevent the right thing being done. There are persons who will even say that if these prisoners are released, the country will be divided. There are persons who will say such absurd things. But we can't be intimidated and threatened by these people for all time. At some point of time, we must do the right thing. Your government has been in office for almost 3 years. And these things have been pending. These matters have been pending. These issues have been pending for 3 years. So I want to appeal to the Honourable Minister, kindly, after you return from abroad, summon a meeting. We'll consult the Prime Minister. We'll consult His Excellency the President. We'll consult the Attorney General. You will be present, and we will come to a decision in regard to some of these matters. But I don't think, sir, these matters should be allowed to drag on indefinitely, and because that is not good for the country. That is not good for reconciliation. That is not good for harmony. These young people must not feel that they are being treated differently. They must feel, after all, in this country, the armed conflict has come to an end. The LTTE is no more. We don't want the LTTE to return. We don't want violence. We want a resolution of the conflict within the framework of a united, undivided, perpetually indivisible Sri Lanka. That is something we publicly state. So why don't we try to make harmony with people? Why don't we try to reconcile our differences in a way in which these differences are normally resolved? I would like to appeal to both the Minister and the Deputy Minister, who was present in Parliament when we had the adjournment debate, to kindly address this question seriously. And Honourable Minister, I'll be grateful if on your return you will convene a meeting where we can discuss this matter and arrive at some decisions. Thank you.